Hi Year 8, so today's lesson is going to be on averages and problem solving. So if you were somebody that struggled quite a bit with the last lesson when we were doing kind of comparisons of data, don't worry too much, we're going to be exercising slightly different skills today. So we're going to be looking at a little bit of spotting the errors in a few quick questions. We're going to be looking at questions like this, so working out the mean in reverse. We'll talk a bit more about what that looks like when you get there. We're also going to be looking at questions like this, so 4 numbers with a mean of 5, so there's going to be a bit more trial and error for you to get your teeth into. Also, we're going to have the answers to the exit ticket question coming up next, so make sure you've got that to hand, ready to mark. So the exit cards that you guys did, that you managed to get in, generally was done really well. We seem quite confident comparing data sets and calculating the mean. The bit I want to emphasise on this is the final question, because some of you were using quite vague language, so it's quite important that we're very specific with that. Okay, so first of all, we wanted to draw a table comparing the mean and range of the teams. Your table may have looked like this. Don't worry if you had Canada United and African Rangers down the left-hand side, mean and range on top. As long as your numbers are correct, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter too much which way round that is. On part B, so who had the highest mean goals scored, that was Canada United. So we're talking about the mean, not necessarily the total number of goals scored. So just be careful that you're clear that we're referring to the mean number of goals scored here, not total number. Finally, on part C, we want to know which team was more consistent and why. So African Rangers scored slightly more consistently because their range of goals was smaller. So we're really thinking about this range. The smaller the number, the more uniform or the more consistent the data is. So really try and remember those phrases. We're talking about consistency and spread of our data, so differences. Okay, so 3 quick questions. I would like you to go through the next few slides and work out what is the problem with the question. So question 1, pause the video to see if you can work out what you think the error is. So some of you may have noticed that when we're looking at this data, when we're finding the median, the first thing we do is put our data in order of smallest to biggest numbers. If we look at this list, it goes 0, 5, 7, 9, 10, but then it goes 3, 5, 8. So this list is clearly not in order of smallest to biggest. If you were going to do that, then you would get a different number for your median. So if you put the numbers in order of smallest to biggest, you would get 0, 3, 5, 5, 7, 8, 9 and 10. That would mean the 2 middle numbers are 5 and 7. If you add them together and divide them by 2, you get a median of 6. So 9.5 is wrong because the list is not in order of smallest to biggest. Okay, question 2. Pause the video, see if you can spot the error. Hopefully you spotted that where the arrow is pointing is the correct place to find the median, but if you add 7 and 7 together, you get 14, and divide it by 2, you get 7 again. So actually the median in this case should have been 7. They've just miscalculated. Okay, question 3, see if you can spot the error. Bear in mind we're now talking about the mode, not the median. Pause the video now. And hopefully you've noticed that the mode is not 7, because 7 only appears once. If we look at our list, we've got 5 that appears twice, which is the mode for this particular data set. Okay, so a recap from previous lesson. We're going to be working on problem solving in this lesson, but previously we had looked at an example like this. So we had a number missing from our list of 4 numbers and a mean of 6, and we wanted to work out what was missing. So we started by counting how many numbers there were, so 4 numbers in total, and multiplying the mean by this number. So that means 5 plus 1 plus 10 plus something has to add up to the mean multiplied by how many numbers there are, which is 24. Okay, so this is going to be a really important fact for you to take into the next few examples when we're doing the reverse mean. So in this example, we've got a mean age of 4 girls of being 10 and another girl joins who's age 5. We now want to know what the new mean of 5 girls is. So in that previous example, we used the number of pieces of data. So we've got 4 girls here and the mean, and we multiplied them together to work out what our total was going to be. So that's going to be our first step here. Okay, so we multiply the mean by the number of girls, which is currently 4, and then we get a total of 40. We're then told that another girl joins age 5, and we want to know what the new mean of 5 girls is now. So we know that the total number of age for the girls was 40, and if we add 5 to that, we're going to end up with 45. So this is going to help us work out the new mean. So now we're going to work out the new mean. We're going to use that new total of 45, and that now comprises of 5 girls. So our mean is going to be 45 divided by 5. So the new mean is going to be 9 years old with the addition of this new girl. Okay, so I would like you now to have a go at this question on the right, following exactly the method on the left. Pause the video now. Okay, and I'm going to go through the answer now. So if you multiply the mean by the number of boys, 4 times 12 is 48. So that's the total of those original 4 boys' ages. We don't need to know exactly what those numbers were. Then you add the new boy to the total. So the new boy's age is 7, 48 plus 7 is 55. And then we work out the new mean by dividing by the new number of boys. So the total age of the 5 of them is 55, and we divide it by 5 because there are 5 boys, so we get 11 years. Okay, another example. So the mean of 4 numbers is 6. Another number is added, and the mean is now 5. We want to know what number this time was added. So we're going to start in the same way that we started in the previous example, and we're going to work out what the total of the 4 numbers is. So we're going to multiply 4 by 6. This next bit is slightly trickier, so I think it will help to write out what we know about calculating the mean. So I'm just going to do that below. So you end up with 24 plus, I've written a question mark, so 24 plus an unknown number, divided by 5, which is the number of numbers that we have in our list now, is going to equal 5, which is our mean. So what we actually have is an equation that we can solve. So we're going to treat the question mark as if it were a letter, so it'd be 24 plus, say, x divided by 5 equals 5. So we're going to rearrange this equation so we can work out what our missing number is. So our first step is to clear the fraction on the bottom of our left-hand side. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5, and that will leave us with 24 plus something equals 25. And then what we're going to do is take away 24 from both sides to find out what that missing number was. Okay, so if we take away 24 from both sides, we're left with question mark on the left-hand side. 24 minus 25 minus 24 is 1. So our question mark, which is our missing number, is equal to 1. Okay, so a little bit trickier. If you need to go back and rewatch that explanation, do. Otherwise, I would like you to see if you can repeat those steps working on this question on the right. So just pause the video now so you can do that. And you should end up with this answer here, okay? So you find the total of the 4 numbers, which is 32, and you write out your mean calculation, which is 32 plus something, divided by 5, because we now have 5 numbers, because this additional number has been added, and our new mean on the right-hand side, which equals 7, and then we're just rearranging that equation. So we're timesing both sides by 5 to clear that fraction, and we're taking away 32 from both sides to get an answer of our missing number being 3. Okay, so just have a go at the questions, pause the video as needed. And the answers are here, so just mark your answers. Okay, so slightly different example. What we're going to work on now is filling in some gaps. So what I'm talking about when I say that is, so we've got this question here. Think of 5 numbers with a mean of 7. And the way I would start this is by drawing out just boxes, so I know how many boxes I need to fill up. Now this may not seem that useful when you're working on this question, but when they get a bit more complicated, we're going to build these up. It's really useful because it means you can start filling those in and playing around with what goes in there. It may not be really obvious what goes in there, which is why we say this exercise can be about trial and error, and it can also be about thinking about what we've tried, making sure we're writing things down. So to get 5 numbers and a mean of 7, the really obvious one that I can think of is by making the number in all of those boxes 7, because 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 divided by 5 is still going to be 7. So because we only have one criteria, we could actually put any range of numbers in. So thinking back to the work we were doing on reverse mean, all we need to know is that we've got 5 numbers and a mean of 7, so our total is going to have to add up to 5 times 7 equals 35. Therefore, the number of combinations we could have are infinite. We could have 7 in this box, and then we could have a whole other range of numbers, so long as they add up to 35. In fact, when we have a question like this, there are infinite numbers of examples. So all we need to know is that this total has to add up to 35 because there are 5 numbers and a mean of 7, okay? So be using that fact because it's quite useful when you're trying to work out what to do. So just have a go at this question on the right and pause the video now. So as I said, the number of examples are infinite, and so long as in this case, because we have 5 numbers and a mean of 8, our total of our numbers equals 40, that's this here, 8 times 5, then we know that we've got numbers that work. Okay, so example 2, we want to think of 3 numbers with a median of 4. So to solve this question, I would again draw out my 3 boxes, and I would be thinking about what the median is. Now, because we know that the median, where we have an odd number of data points, is going to lie in this box here, whatever these numbers are, we'd cross this off, we'd end up with a median in the middle. When the median is 4 and we have an odd number, this number in the box has to be 4. And then any other number could go in these boxes, but we need to be quite careful with the median. So because the median sits in the middle, the numbers are in order of smallest to biggest. This number here has to be smaller than 4. But it can also be equal to 4 as well. So I could solve this just by putting 4s in my boxes, or I could think of a number that's smaller than 4, 1's smaller than 4, so maybe I might put 1 in there, you might have chosen 2 or 3, or even a negative number. And this number in the end has to be larger or the same as 4 for that median to remain 4, so I'm just going to pick 5 there. Again, there are infinite numbers that are greater than 4, so you might have very different answers to me. Okay, so please have a go at this question on the right, just pause the video now. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing my boxes. My median has to be in this middle box, therefore this has to be 6, because I've got an odd number of boxes. So this has to be smaller than 6 or the same as 6. Let's make it 5, and this box here has to be the same as 6 or bigger than 6. So I'm just going to make that 7. Again, you could have had all 6s or different numbers in there. Just make sure that that middle number is 6, the number to the left of 6 is smaller or the same as 6, and the number to the right is the same or bigger. Okay, so this question is a little bit different. So we want to think of 5 numbers with a mode of 4 and a range of 6. So we've got 2 criteria to satisfy now. So all I'm going to do to begin with is draw out my boxes as I did before. Okay, so for my mode to be 4, 4 needs to occur in my list more often than any other numbers. So it could occur twice as a minimum, and all that means is if it only occurs twice, I might choose for it to appear 3 times. And if I chose that, I just need my range numbers at either end of my list to have a difference of 6. So I could do that. Let's do that, and then we need to work out our range. So there are a number of ways we can make our range. So let's list them out, and this might help us decide what numbers to use. So I've written out a list of number of ways that I could create this range. So 7 minus 1 is 6, 8 minus 2 is 6, 9 minus 3 is 6, 10 minus 4 is 6. So I could include another 4 here if I wanted to, and that would mean that this number had to be 10 for that range to be equal to 6. I could similarly choose 7 and 1, or 8 and 2, or 9 and 3. So as you can see, there are a number of options. It just so happens that in this example I've chosen to make my life a bit easier by repeating that number, but there may be instances where it's quite useful to think about those pairs. Okay, so just have a go at this question on the right, very similar. Pause the video now. So you may have had something similar to this, or you may not have done. So I decided that I was going to have a mode of 3 5s in the middle, and all that meant was I had to find two numbers that had a difference of 7 at either end, and that happened to be 12 minus 5 in my list, but it could have been 11 at the far right and 4 in the far right, and so on, because I've already taken care of my mode. So there'll be a number of ways to solve this question. Okay, so have a go with these now. So think really carefully about the criteria. What might help is thinking about the mode to begin with, and just how that median is put together. See if you can fill in the boxes. There may well be more than one answer. Okay, and answers are here. You might have had slightly different answers. If you're really not sure, do message me.